Hello guys, in this video you will see what is the top 10 best ground units in update 15. Every units in this video are all obtainable and not from trading. I do want to know what you guys think is the best ground unit in update 15. Remember to subscribe and like, and with that being said, in no particular order, the first must-have unit is Pride the One. Escanor is one of the best ground unit in this update 15 with his insane late game stats, with Escanor having one of the biggest full AoE and having a low SPA cooldown and insanely strong damage per second. Pride the One stats a max upgrade and max level are 57,525.41 damage, following his SPA at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 8,850. But with his Sunshine passive max, his new damage per second is 19,921. At later upgrades, he will become a hybrid unit, making him attack both air and ground enemies. I suggest placing Pride the One as soon as possible, as he buffs himself permanently from placement for 15 waves. The best trait you can have on Pride the One is Unique, and alternative traits you can have on him is Double Snipers or Divine. Pride the One's damage types are Physical and Fire. I only recommend to bring Pride the One in waves that are 20 or longer. Okay, next unit is Azofano. Aizen is still one of the best magic ground unit in this update 15, especially Aizen will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades. Aizen final stats a max upgrade and max level are 249,567 damage with his SPA at 15 seconds, making his damage per second at 16,637.8. Aizen is one of the hardest units to evolve because of how his evolution works, as it will require you kills and worthy souls to evolve him. If you are ever doing leaderboard runs, then I recommend trying to get unique traits, since he is one of the best units to have unique on when going for leaderboard runs. Azofano also has a manual ability on placement called Kanzen Seimin, which causes the opponents to be pushed back and shielding your base. Alright, next unit is Stain Hero Slayer, who is one of the best DPS ground units, since the ability that he will get at later upgrades is extremely overpowered. Stain Hero Slayer stats at max upgrade and max level are 79,298.54 damage with his SPA at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 15,859.70. With bleeding, it may not seem a lot, but the ability that he will get at later upgrades will make him insanely strong. How Stain Slayer works with his ability is whenever Blood Curdle is activated, Stain's damage will deal 3 times more damage to every bleeding enemy inside his range. The ability can crit 4.5 times of Stain's current damage, as well as it stuns enemies for 2 seconds that are bleeding. This ability is not a global ability, which technically you can spam the ability correctly. If you do it correctly, yeah. There is a 10 seconds cooldown on enemies who have been affected by the ability, and the ability cooldown is 20 seconds. Stain Hero Slayer will be extremely overpowered when pairing with bleeding units, especially Guts Berserk, who is one of the newest units added in this update 15, and he will be able to hit air enemies at later upgrades, making Stain Hero Slayer and Guts Berserk the best combo units, especially when Blood Curdle is activated, as it will attack every enemies that are bleeding. Stain Hero Slayer's damage types are Physical and Dark. Okay, next unit is Griffith Ascension, who is one of the newest units added in this update 15, and Griffith is the most overpowered unit, and even better, the Dio over Heaven with his extremely overpowered passive. Griffith Ascension stats a max upgrade and max level are 20,711 damage with his SPA at 6.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 3,287.46. You might be wondering why he has such a low stats. Well, it is because you have to sacrifice units. If you sacrifice buff units, Griffith will turn into Griffith Reincarnation, where it will buff your units by 100%, and you can stack your buff with Griffith Reincarnation, which is incredibly overpowered, which can be used in the brand new tournament in this update 15. If you sacrifice mythic and secret units, Griffith Ascension will become a full AoE DPS unit, which is the most overpowered unit in anime adventures. Even better than Dio Over Heaven, which I have mentioned. Do keep in mind that Griffith doesn't have a cap, making it insanely strong. So I definitely recommend trying to get your Griffith's damage to 300 plus damage before he transforms, because it will be broken for Griffith to have such an insane amount of damage with him being a full AoE and multi-hit, which will be great against shield enemies. Griffith's buffs is based on the cost of the unit, which if you have maxed out the units, it will give more percentage of the damage buff before he transforms into Griffith Darkness. Alright, next unit is Flamingo Awakened. The Flamingo Awakened is one of the best magic ground unit with the highest damage per second unit in this update 15. Flamingo Awakened stats on max upgrade and max level are 336,140 damage with his SPA at 7.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 44,818.66, which is incredibly overpowered. Despite of him not being able to hit air enemies, Luffy is still extremely overpowered for a ground unit. How to get Flamingo Awakened is by defeating the Puppet Island Birdcage, the Puppet Master, where the host will be guaranteed to get the unit, where the other players will have a slight chance. To get the secret portal is by defeating the normal puppet portal, which can be obtained through the Puppet Island Infinite mode, and good luck to everyone who is trying to get Luffy. Yeah! Okay, next unit is Skull Knight King, who is one of the newest units added in this update 15. Skull Knight King turns out to be one of the most strongest ground unit in this update 15. Skull Knight King's stats at max upgrade and max level are 283,485.2 damage with his SPA at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 43,613.11, which is extremely overpowered for a ground unit. Especially this AoE is a circle, which will be great against armored enemies. Like bro, it's so big. It is unfortunate that Skull Knight King does not hit air's enemies at later upgrades, but that makes the unit itself balanced. Especially you can only place 2 Skull Knight King, making unique trait the best trait you can have on Skull Knight King. Skull Knight King is the newest secret limited unit added in this update 15, and how to get Skull Knight is defeating the new secret King portal, the Eclipse, the Wings of Darkness, which you can get through the normal Eclipse portal. And how to get the normal Eclipse portal is through the Windham Infinite mode, which is the newest map. Alright, next unit is Guts Berserk. Guts is one of the newest units added in this update 15, and Guts Berserk became one of the most overpowered unit with his extremely overpowered full AoE, and overall one of the best ground unit, as well as he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies at later upgrades. Sheesh! Guts Berserk stats at max upgrade and max level are 262,315 damage with his SPA at 13 seconds, making his damage per second at 25,222.67 with bleeding, which is insanely strong. Especially Guts is a full AoE unit and will be able to hit air enemies at later upgrades. Guts also does in addition 25% more of his damage as he does bleeding that lasts for 4 ticks. Sheesh! How to evolve Guts to Guts Berserk is by defeating the brand new Eclipse portal, which can be obtained through the Windham Infinite mode, which is incredibly easy to defeat. Especially the map is huge, so you can place further back if you are playing solo. Guts Berserk's power types are physical and fire. Okay, next unit is Homuru Time Traveler. Homura is still one of the best ground unit, with her being one of the best units to have, especially with her insanely strong time stop and amazing stats at later upgrades in this update 15. Homuru Time Traveler stats at max upgrade and max level are 115,142 damage with her SPA at 6 seconds, making her damage per second at 19,190.48, which is insanely strong, as she will be able to hit both air and ground enemies with her attack and ability at later upgrades. How to get Homura Time Traveler is through the Witch City Walpurgis secret portal, which you can craft using 4 time traveling shards. And you can get these time traveling shards through the tier 5 and above witch city portals. The best traits you can have on Homuru Time Traveler is unique as she is 3 placement, and alternative traits you can have on her are Divine and Godspeed. If you didn't know, you can sell and replace and spam her time stop ability, which is insanely strong for tournaments. Homuru Time Traveler's damage types are physical and arc. Alright, next unit is Lawroom. Law is one of the best units to bring in Infinity Castle, not only because of his ability, but how surprisingly cheap he is to max upgrade, which will be useful in Infinity Castle, leaderboard runs, and many more in this update 15. Sheesh. Lawroom stats on max upgrade and max level are 150,141 damage with his SPA at 5.9 seconds, making his damage per second at 25,447.62, which is incredibly overpowered for a support unit, as he has an ability at placement called Shambles, where when activated, the enemies will be teleported back, which is insanely strong, and he is a better Lulu Gias, and that means Lawroom will be valuable in Infinity Castle and leaderboard runs with his Shamble ability. This Shamble ability affects air, ground enemies, and bosses, which is insanely strong. Lawroom is incredibly easy to evolve, as you just have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you are soloing the portal. The best trait you can have on Lawroom is unique, as he is 3 placement, and alternative traits you can have on him is Sniper, so he will be able to teleport back more enemies with his huge range. Lawroom's damage types are Magic and Aqua. Okay, next unit is Luffy Gear 4. Luffy is one of the best ground units to have, especially he is extremely cheap to max upgrade, and at later upgrades, he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies. Luffy Gear 4 stats on max upgrade and max level are 205,719 damage with his SPA at 6.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 32,143.59, which is incredibly overpowered, as you can place 4 of Luffy Gear 4. Luffy Gear 4 at later upgrades, he'll be able to hit both air and ground enemies, which is insanely overpowered, although he is no longer a multi-hit at his last ability, so he will struggle against shield enemies. Luffy Gear 4 is incredibly easy to evolve, as you just have to continuously defeat the puppet portal, which are easy to defeat even if you are soloing the portal. The best trait you can have on Luffy Gear 4 is Divine, as he has 4 placements, although if you are going to be using Luffy Gear 4 in Infinity Castle, then the best trait you can have on him is Unique, which Luffy is insanely strong for Infinity Castle on how cheap he is to max upgrade. Luffy Gear 4's damage types are Physical and Fire. Alright, next unit is Tango God of Flashiness. Tengen is still one of the best physical ground units in this update 15, since at later upgrades, he will be able to hit both air and ground enemies, which is insanely strong. Tango God of Flashiness stats on max level and max upgrade are 224,526 damage with his SPA at 11 seconds, making his damage per second at 20,411.45, which is incredibly strong, especially with his full AoE, although his range is so terrible. Despite of Tengen having such a terrible range, the unit itself is still very strong, especially at later upgrades. He will become a hybrid unit, making him attack both air and ground enemies, as well as having the Nail Relic equipped on Tango God of Flashiness will be the best relic to have equipped. Tango God of Flashiness damage types are Physical and Rose. That was everything for this video on the top 10 must-have units in update 15. I hope this video helped you in some sort of way. Remember to subscribe and like, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.